Yeah, I know. This is an incredibly late video on a game I probably should have played months ago when it first came out. But like many of the games I've bought this year, it's been sitting in my Steam library waiting to be played, vastly overshadowed by all the other games that I've been meaning to play for the past however many months it's been. Given the kinds of games I like to play, this should have been a day one purchase and play for me, but then I only played Inside for the first time this year, and I've owned that since it was released in 2015. I'm on the ball, guys. Developed by Swedish devs Tarsier Studios and released in April of this year, Little Nightmares is a side-scrolling platformer in which you control Six, a little girl in a yellow raincoat with a seemingly insatiable appetite. Waking beneath the feet of a hanged man, Six must traverse the moor, an underground complex that apparently cultivates and harvests humans, particularly children, for initially unknown reasons. As you make your way from the depths to the surface, uncovering secrets and evading disfigured denizens, you begin to suffer hunger pangs and must help Six survive the moor's residents, as well as sate her raging palate. In terms of mechanics, the game is as simple as a side-scrolling platformer can be. It's largely unremarkable in the controls department, although it does feel as though it was intended to be played with a controller, with moves like the sprint slide feeling especially awkward when using a keyboard, since you have to hold shift to run then press control to slide. You use left click to grab hold of things, from ledges to boxes to levers, and this comprises a large part of the gameplay. When you're not running from pursuers or climbing stairs, you'll be pulling levers, climbing ropes, traversing cages, and rotating wheels. It's all in a day's work for a game like this, making it neither here nor there in terms of the way it feels to play. It's simple, and sometimes that's all you really need. To air my grievances right off the bat, my biggest complaint about Little Nightmares is that unlike games like Limbo or Inside, the environments exist on a restricted 3D side-scrolling plane, but the character is fully 3D controlled. This means that it is entirely possible to mess something up during one of the game's chase sequences, because you couldn't see the thing you needed to avoid, not knowing that you had to move closer to the camera. This is not a game that favours fast reactions, since so much of it is slow and ponderous, thoughtfully laid out and contemplative. When a chase sequence does happen, it often feels very blunt and intrusive, rupturing the game's thick, leaden atmosphere. The chases and the struggle to make the controls cooperate at times can result in some insanely frustrating sequences, where your depth perception and reaction times are just not sufficient enough to accommodate for sudden environmental changes. At times, the environments can work in the game's favour, and when they do, it looks spectacular, but it can also occasionally feel as though they're working against you deliberately, causing cheap deaths. In terms of design, look and feel, the game is beautiful. It looks absolutely stunning. Character design is simple and to the point, and the enemy design, whilst there aren't a great deal of them, is strikingly varied, making it immediately obvious who you're dealing with, often based on musical keys alone. The game is essentially divided into zones, with each part representing a different enemy. The long-armed blind janitor is most often trapped in a small confined space with you, where careful ease and tiptoes are required to avoid his reaching grasp. He tends to try to trap you in crushingly small places, so it's rather fitting that this ultimately works against him. The chefs are most frequently found in larger, more open areas with multiple paths of progression. They are huge and lumbering, although deceptively so. When they lock their eyes on you, you can be damn sure they'll catch you given half the chance. There are some neat little details regarding this enemy type too, like the fact that you can outwit them by waiting for them to reach under a table, then sprinting off to another hiding spot, since they can't actually fit their bloated heads under the table to see you. I also appreciate the fact that they make great use of the 3D plane, as they can see you from across the room if you're foolishly hiding under a table in their line of sight. It's such a simple, innocuous little detail, but it makes the game much more tense and entertaining, and it's a lot of fun to exploit. There is also the geisha, the apparent overlord of the moor, who has a rather hideous ability to telepathically snatch hold of you, with the screen fading to black before you actually see what happens. She's a solitary, mysterious figure who is built up throughout the game as someone who skulks in the darkness. When you finally lay eyes upon her standing still, she's humming a low, gentle tune, lulling you into a false sense of security. It's an eerie, haunting moment that perfectly encapsulates the tension the game has thus far built for her. The geisha is easily the most interesting character in the game. In general, the game's atmosphere is stellar, and there are plenty of cool little details that help you piece together what's going on in the moor, like the fact that the chefs seem to have fashioned oversized masks out of skin, or the portrait of Six and the geisha that you can find in the latter's bedroom. Or there's the simplest detail of all, so easy to spot yet so easy to forget about: the hanged man. It's all laid out with expert precision, and the moor feels like a place that's lived in, not just inhabited. The enemies very much feel like part of the environment, and it is clear that this is their home. No matter how long Six has been there, it always feels like you're intruding when you come across them. There's a great air of mystery and intrigue to everything that makes it very easy to persist, even if the game feels frustrating or unfair at times. Even so, a lot of unanswered questions are left at the end of the game. Who is the geisha really? Why does eating her give us her powers? Who and what exactly is Six? Who are the other children? Are they killed just to be cooked, or do they serve another purpose? Who is the janitor, and what will happen to him now that he's got no arms? What was that thing in the room full of shoes? Why did it want to eat me? Or was that just a Star Wars reference? I do appreciate that the game is intended to be dissected and interpreted rather than told flat out to you. The problem is a feeling I can't quite pinpoint, something I didn't really feel with Limbo and only slightly felt with Inside at the very end of the game. It's odd because although Inside is just as oblique, if not more so, I felt like I had a stronger grasp of the world and its rules. It's difficult to put into words. Little Nightmares was definitely a tense game, dripping with an atmosphere that's so easy to be immersed in but so difficult to get right, and for that the developers absolutely deserve credit. The slow, creeping pace of its opening hour or so was hugely enjoyable. Each step that I took felt weighted and calculated, as if I held life and death in the palm of my hand. The game's first half also felt much more fair, with it being clearer where you were making mistakes and how to rectify them, like the first section where you need to sneak past the janitor. It's trial and error to figure out exactly what to do to get past, but once you figure it out it's hugely rewarding. Something else worthy of attention is how grand a job the game does of making you feel small and insignificant, until it starts to downsize its environments towards the end of the game, mirroring the growing power and presence that Six has. As you persist through the game, climbing higher and higher out of the moor, Six consumes more and more food, even taking several chunks out of an innocent creature that was just trying to help her. You can feel the weight of Six's growing confidence and determination with every new zone that you break free into. Yet, even after killing and consuming the geisha, absorbing her ability to suck the souls from the humans who gorge on meat in the moor's diner, when Six emerges from the underground facility, she's once again small, meek, and insignificant. It is the last roar of another incoming shipment of denizens ready to feast again that signals the beginning of a new cycle and the end of Six's hideous, corruptive journey. It's just a shame that to get to that point you have to trawl through easily one of the most tedious sections of the game. I really did not enjoy the run through the diner. It felt incredibly unfair in places, especially the first time you spotted and trigger the chase sequence. You are deliberately prevented from being able to anticipate a bottle tucked just beyond a doorway, meaning that some players like myself who, after dying once or twice, might try to find a way of avoiding the bottle or stopping it from falling over, wasting time and increasing irritation. But the bottle is designed to give you away no matter what you try to do. If you pick it up and try to move it, it smashes and you can't jump over it. There's no way to avoid being spotted in this section. I understand what they were trying to do here, but they'd already found better ways of making you feel powerless and helpless in the jaws of giants before this point, so it's nothing short of infuriating when you try to run but don't quite get the timing right and die anyway. I hated this section more than anything else in the game, and it was the only part that felt genuinely unfair rather than an issue caused through some fault of my own. Otherwise, the game was a solid romp and enjoyable enough that I do want to play the DLC, but I think I'll leave it a while. One last comment I will make is that for the amount of content here and the level of replayability available, Little Nightmares is far too expensive. Still, there are elements that irrevocably draw me in despite my misgivings. It's a joyous experience if you can get past the occasional frustration and aren't too fussed by dying a few times on the way. Just make sure to buy the game when it's on sale. Hey guys, and welcome to the post-video chatter. I hope you enjoyed my short and sweet Little Nightmares review, and here's a quick channel update for those of you curious enough to hang around a little longer. I'm currently working on a massive project that's taking way longer than I expected. It was supposed to be my next video, but I've pushed it back to the start of the new year now since it's going to take a lot longer than I anticipated. This will be my last review style video of the year. There's going to be a short year in review video, most likely late next week now. Featuring my top 5 for the year, but in the meantime, you guys do me a favour and have yourselves an awesome Christmas. Cheers for watching.